there and welcome. You're about to watch a Lakehead International live webinar. It is a great way to explore what Lakehead University is all about. In this session, you'll hear insights and stories from Lakehead professors, staff, and current students. While watching, if you have any questions, feel free to drop them in the comment section below. For now, let's dive in.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar. So thank you for joining us for yet another Lakehead International live session. And today we are going to be discussing a major topic, which is about student visa and everything that you need to know about Canadian student visa and how to navigate the entire process with full confidence. My name is Hardika Narankar, and I'm part of the international team here at Lakehead University, based on the Thunder Bay campus. And I'm excited to be joined today by two of our international student services. They work closely with students every single day, and they will be sharing their expertise and answering your questions as we go. So let's just start with a quick round of introductions. Sukhjeet and Katie, I will let you both introduce yourself, starting from Sukhjeet.
Thank you so much, Hardika. So hello everyone, my name is Sukhjeet Singh. I'm one of the international student advisors here at Lakehead University Thunder Bay campus. I'm also an RCIC, which stands for Regulated Canadian Immigration Consultant, which simply means that I am licensed to provide you advice on various immigration topics. And we are looking forward to welcoming you all on campus. We are a great team here to support you throughout your journey as a student here at Lakehead. So thank you for joining us. Over to you, Katie.
Thanks, Sukhjeet. Hi, everybody. My name is Katie Stevenson. I'm the International Engagement Specialist here at the RISIA campus. So if you are headed to RISIA or Barrie, we are going to be meeting each other very soon. My role, in addition to providing immigration advising, is really supporting students from the time that you accept your offer, planning your arrival here, supporting you throughout your studies, and seeing you through to graduation. So I look forward to working with you.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Sukhjeet and Katie. And just to highlight to everyone in the audience today, Sukhjeet and Katie both are licensed immigration advisors. That means that they're officially authorized to support you with your study permit and also the entire visa process. So having experts like them on your side is one of the ways that Lakehead makes sure that you are supported throughout your journey. So with that, let's just begin. So we'll be taking a quick look at what we'll be covering today, which is what a Canadian study permit is and when you should apply. We also will be discussing how your Lakehead admission status affects your next steps. The documents that you will need, including the biometrics and medical exams. What to know if you're doing co-op or just plan to work while studying. Also the processing times and what to do if you are bringing family members with you. So now we have got a lot of ground to cover. So let's just dive right in. Let's just start with the basics, which is a study permit. What is a study permit? So a study permit is a document issued by the Government of Canada that allows international students to study at a designated learning institution, which is a DLI. Lakehead University is an approved DLI, which means that all international students must obtain a study permit before they can begin their studies here in Canada. Now, if you are planning to come to Canada from outside the country, you will need to submit your study permit application before traveling. And once your permit is approved, you will be able to start your program at Lakehead. Now, one of the most common questions that we receive is when should you apply for your study permit and when should you start the process? So let's just take a look at that in the next slide. You can only begin your study permit application after Lakehead has reviewed your application and made an official admission decision. Once that decision is made, your application status will move into one of the several categories mentioned in the slides. So I'll just be going through each one of them in brief. So the first one is admitted unconditional, which means that you have met all the admission requirements and your offer is final. Now, this second thing is the admitted conditional. This means that you have been accepted, but you still need to submit a few remaining documents, such as final transcripts, updated English test scores, or proof that you completed your previous degree. The key point here is both unconditional and conditional offers allow you to begin your study permit application. You may also see other status updates in your application portal, such as incomplete, which means that something is missing from your application, and you will need to upload those documents before the admissions team can continue reviewing your file. Next up is pending review. Your application is complete and currently under review by the admission team. Then comes refused. So your application did not meet the admission requirements at this stage on the status. Now, if your status shows incomplete, pending review, or just refused, you are not eligible to apply for a study permit yet. And in that case, the next step is to work with the admissions team to resolve whatever is holding up your application. And if you see a refusal, you do not have to panic. In many cases, it may simply be due to missing documents or a requirement that needs clarification. Now, once the issue is addressed, you may be able to submit a new application. It is always best to confirm the next steps with the admissions office. Now, once you receive your admission offer, there are several key documents that you will need to prepare for your study permit application. First up is the valid passport, then your official letter of acceptance, LOA, from Lakehead University. Then comes the proof of financial support to demonstrate that you can cover tuition and living expenses, and a provincial attestation letter, which is PAL, which most applicants are now required to include for the undergraduate programs, and any additional country-specific documents required for applicants from your own region. So depending on your country of residence and your program, you may also be asked to complete biometrics or just undergo a medical examination as part of the application process. With that, let's just discuss the same thing, like the statuses for graduate applicants, which basically is the same rules that apply. You can only apply for your study permit after you have officially been admitted. And currently, if you are planning to attend a public institution, you do not need a provincial or territorial attestation letter, which is PAL, when applying for a study permit if you are planning for a graduate or a master's program. All right. So for this slide, I will pass it over to Katie to speak more about it.
Perfect. Thanks, Hartika. Okay, so for any of our students on today's call that may already be in Canada, there are various different scenarios that you might be in. So there are different processes that you'll need to follow depending on your situation. So here are a few of them. If you're already a student in Canada studying at another DLI or designated learning institution, you will be required to apply for a new study permit by submitting a study permit extension application online with IRCC. You will also need to prepare other pieces of your application, and this must be approved before you can begin your studies at the new institution. Very, very important. So again, as Hartika said, getting on that application as soon as possible when you have the green light from Lakehead is really important here. If you're a visitor in Canada, there are very limited scenarios in which you would qualify to apply for a study permit from within Canada. And so we really encourage you to review those in advance. If you do qualify, you will be submitting a study permit application, but as if you were outside of Canada. Lastly, if you're a worker in Canada currently, you'll be changing your status from a worker to a student. And with that, I'm going to give it back to Hartika for a few more slides.
Okay, thank you so much, Katie. So now I will be moving into the provincial attestation letter, or PAL, and just discussing the steps for it. So this is one of the requirements for study permit application, and it is a key part of the process for most undergraduate students. So here's how it works. So step one is you need to accept your offer of admission. So if you're an undergraduate student, you'll need to do this through the WAC, which is OUAC, or your Lakehead student portal. So graduate students do not need to do this. Graduate students can accept their offers through the same graduate application portal that they use to apply. Now, step two is after you accept your offer, our team will send you a PAL request form, You will enter a few details and upload your documents, typically your passport and some basic information. Now, step 3 is that you need to pay the PAL confirmation deposit. This payment has to be completed before we can issue your PAL. It is a non-refundable unless your visa is refused. And step 4 is once everything is submitted and the deposit is paid, we will issue you a PAL letter, making sure that you review it closely. You also need to double check your name, address, any kind of spelling errors, because IRCC will verify all of that when they are reviewing your application. Quick tip, you can always find the latest details on our PAL webpage, which is there mentioned in this slide. You can just go through that to get more information. Now, here's how the deposits work. Undergraduate students, if you have already paid your $500 confirmation deposit, you'll need to top up for Canadian dollars 4,500. If you haven't paid anything yet, you can pay the full 5,000 Canadian dollars at once. And for graduate students, if you have already paid the 2,000, you just need to pay the graduate confirmation deposit of $2,000. That's it. All right. So for those of you who have already received your letter of acceptance, congratulations. That is a major achievement and the first big step towards joining us at Lakehead. And now that you know where to start and what you'll need, let's just move into the next part. What happens after you start after your study permit application is submitted. Next up, I'll just do a quick poll just to get an understanding of our audience today. So Jeet and Katie, I will also share the results with you just shortly. So I'll just launch the poll to understand what level of study the audience is pursuing today. So I've just launched it. Hopefully the audience will be able to answer quickly. We do have a good chunk of attendees today, so we'll get a good data. All right. So far, a lot of the attendees have mentioned graduate, master's, PhD. Around 10% have mentioned that they are currently doing undergraduate, which is bachelor studies. I'll just keep it for 5 more seconds and then I'll close it. Okay. So I'm just ending the poll right now. Here are all the results. Are you able to see it, Katie? Sujeet? Yeah, perfect. Hopefully that helps with your presentation while you're giving your presentation, to keep it in mind, like we have a lot of graduate students in our audience today. All right. So with that, I will pass it over to Katie again.
Thanks, Hartika. Okay, so once you've been accepted and you've received your letter of acceptance as well as your provincial attestation letter, or PAL, your next step is to get started with your study permit application. So we are talking about all applicants applying from outside of Canada. You'll be applying from your current country of residence, and applications are submitted online on the IRCC website, unless you're physically unable to do so. So first, you need to create an IRCC account for yourself. Then you need to start gathering your documents. And we will be going over what documents you need to upload to the IRCC portal for your study permit application. Don't worry, we'll take a deeper dive into those. And then last but not least, we'll discuss the entry requirements once your visa is approved and you are ready to travel to Canada. So we can move to the next slide. Perfect. Okay, so applying online from outside of Canada. You must ensure you have everything you need for your application as you go through this process. You need a camera or a scanner to make electronic copies of your documents. You can take clear photos or you can scan them to upload. IRCC will accept JPEGs, PNGs, Word, and PDF copies of documents. Note that your file size must be equal to or less than 4 megabytes to upload to the portal. So you may need to resize some files, particularly if they're photos, before you upload them. Supporting documents that are not in English or French must be translated by a certified translator. You can read the online instruction guide to start your application. Make sure you pay close attention to your local visa office's requirements. So for example, you might need to submit a statement of purpose, otherwise referred to as an SOP, or a letter of intent, which is a very country-specific document. So make sure you read that instruction guide to know what is specific for you. Then you're going to prepare your answers for the online tool. So once you create that account through the IRCC portal, it will ask you a whole series of questions to determine what type of visa you require. So you need to move through and answer these correctly to ensure that you get to the right document. And you will need certain documents for each country. So once you answer all the questions, you will have a list of documents you need to submit as part of your study permit application. You will also be paying a fee for your visa application, so you need to have a valid credit or debit card to pay online. Note that this credit or debit card doesn't have to be in your name, but you do need all the details of the card in order to enter them and successfully pay online. So you will see the costs that you are going to be charged when you go through the application. You will know those in advance. You need to pay the cost of the application as well as your biometrics fee. The biometrics include your fingerprints and your photos. If you have dependents and you're applying together, there will be additional fees for their application. So once you have all the information ready, you're going to move forward with creating that account and moving through the application process. Okay, next slide. Thank you. So making the IRCC account. If this is the first time that you're using the IRCC portal, you're going to be asked to provide an email and you will receive a code through email to sign up for a GCKey account. Move to the next one, please. Okay, once you receive that code, you can proceed to sign up for your account with the GCKey screen that's seen here. So when you use the GCKey to sign into an account or create a new one, you'll receive a prompt to register a device or provide an email address for two-factor authentication. You're going to need a Google Authenticator app on your phone or your computer so that you can use your email to receive the code. You also want to make sure that you save your recovery codes when you're setting up your account. So have a safe place to write those down. To create your own GCKey, click the sign up button on the far right side as we show on the screen here. Please make sure that you make note of your username and password and all your security questions and answers. Again, write those down somewhere where it's safe. If you are using an agent, be sure they share all of this information with you so that you can independently access your portal account on your own later on. Because this account is the account that you'll use to submit your future immigration applications, such as a study permit extension in the future, visas, or even your postgrad work permit application, it's really important that you have this information documented so that you can continue to use this portal. So moving on next, we're going to talk about gathering our different documents. All right, so this is a nice list of the documents that you're going to need. And don't worry, we will be going into each one of these in greater detail. So you will need your letter of acceptance from Lakehead University as proof of your admission. You're going to need proof of financial support or proof of funds available, your proof of identity, which is your passport, your provincial attestation letter, otherwise known as a PAL, and then there are also going to be some country-specific documents that you might need for your application. So let's move forward and talk a little bit more about that LOA. So LOA, otherwise known as a letter of acceptance. So this is received from Lakehead University. As Hardika mentioned earlier in the previous slides, it's either sent to you from the Graduate Studies Office or you can download it yourself through MyInfo. You cannot submit a study visa application without obtaining this first. So very, very important. Your offer letter will include your information, including program details and program length, which obviously IRCC needs in order to accurately give you a study permit to cover your time here. If you have any other questions regarding the admissions process or that letter of acceptance, you'll definitely want to contact our admissions team directly. So we've included some contact information. Note that it is different for undergrad versus graduate admissions. So get in touch with them if you do have any questions or concerns. The other thing we wanted to note about your letter of acceptance, I'll go back for 1 second, Hartika. Sorry, thank you. So there are two different kinds of letters of acceptance. Hartika did kind of highlight this earlier, a conditional letter and an unconditional letter. You will receive an unconditional offer from the university if you've met all of the requirements and you have nothing further to do on our end. If you receive that conditional offer, you still have to meet some requirements. So for example, you might have to submit final transcripts. So please make sure that you do that. We always recommend that you use an unconditional offer letter when you go to apply for your study permit. Again, if you have questions about this, please get in touch with the admissions office. Okay, we can move on to the next one now. We'll talk a little bit more about financial support. So another important piece of information you need to upload as part of your study permit application is proof of financial support. So you really need to satisfy the IRCC officer who is reviewing your application that you have enough funds for your studies and your stay in Canada. So currently, the rules are that you need to show that you have Canadian funds of $22,895 in addition to your first year tuition and travel costs. So there will be additional funds if you have family members that are accompanying you to Canada. This information and these specific fund amounts are all listed on the IRCC website. So maybe I'll pop the link into the chat here if you are traveling with additional family members. 1 second. There you go. You can also use the handy tool that we've listed the link for on the screen. So this is to get an estimated amount for tuition fees. So we have a cost estimator tool that's really handy on the LU website. And note that our undergrad students typically have 2 semesters in a year and graduate students have 3 semesters per academic year. So please check out those 2 handy resources to help you get prepared. So moving on to the next slide, we'll talk a little bit more about financial proof. So again, you must be able to prove that you can support yourself and accompanying family members to Canada. So you can include your tuition fees receipt, your PAL deposits, any down payment that you've made for residence. You can log in to MyInfo and obtain your current statement of your account and include that with your study permit application. Some other documents you might make use of, a guaranteed investment certificate or GIC from a Canadian bank or proof of a student loan or education loan from a bank to help support the fact that you can cover your tuition and your fees here. If you have a sponsor, you must provide a letter from your sponsor confirming their sponsorship and supporting documentation for proof of financial support. If your parents are paying for your tuition, you need to provide their income details with their bank statements for the past 4 to 6 months. If you have a scholarship or you're participating in a funded program, you need to provide documentation confirming your funding with your application. So if your funds are from multiple sources, which is often the case, we recommend that you include a letter of explanation. You could also create a cover page for your proof of funds, given there might be multiple documents in that package, and really explain clearly where your funds are coming from. You will need to merge all those proof of financial support documents together into one single document before uploading them to the IRCC portal. So in this section on the portal, you only get one upload, make sure it's all together. And again, that cover letter as the first document to help guide the officer reviewing your file might be really helpful. Okay, I'm going to move us on to the next slide, shift gears and talk about proof of identity. So you need to provide proof of identity, which is your passport. So please make sure that your passport doesn't expire anytime soon, so valid for 6 months or more. Ideally, it's more than that, covering your time as a student and allowing you to complete your studies just to keep things as simple as possible. So definitely check the validity of your passport before you start this application process. A study permit will not be issued beyond the validity of your passport. So if your passport expires within the next 2 years, we definitely recommend you look at renewing that before proceeding with your application to eliminate any issues and extra work further down the road. Okay, so I've been talking for a little bit. With that, I am going to pass it over to Sukhjit to continue talking about the PAL as another required document.
Thank you so much, Katie. So, as Katie mentioned, we will continue with the required documents. Next up is PAL, or the Provincial Attestation Letter. Hardika has already covered this information briefly. So once you accept your offer of admission and pay your confirmation deposit plus PAL deposit if required, complete the PAL request form. This is an email that comes from our international enrollment team. If you do not receive this email, please reach out to them directly at pal.intl@lakeheadu.ca. Our PAL team will receive your request, and if everything looks good, they will request your PAL from the government and send it to you once they receive it. So this part of the process usually takes around a week. So you will submit your PAL and acceptance letter together as part of your study permit application. Again, as mentioned earlier, if you are a master's or PhD student submitting an application on or after January 1st, 2026, you will not require a PAL. Thank you. So applications submitted outside of Canada are assessed by the visa offices outside of Canada. So each country has their own requirements in addition to the documents we explained earlier. On the IRCC website, you can find the application package that is specific to your country. From the drop-down menu, you will select where you are applying from outside of Canada, then select the country of residence. And after this, you will get a document like this as it is shown on the screen right now. So you will get this document checklist and visa office instructions, which can be downloaded from the IRCC website. And please make sure you submit everything with your study permit application. Okay, so what about entry requirements? So with your study permit application, if you are from a visa required country, you will get your temporary residence visa, the counterfile or the sticker in your passport. So you will receive a passport. If your application is approved, you will receive a passport request, also called PPR, to submit your passport for visa stamping. You will have 30 days from receiving this letter to submit your passport for stamping. So your visa is the travel document which you need to enter Canada. If you are from a visa exempt country, you may need an ETA, or electronic travel authorization. The ETA is usually valid until the expiry of your passport. If IRCC approves your study permit application, they will issue an ETA. You do not need to apply for it in most cases. It is issued automatically and linked to your passport if you get your visa study permit approved. So IRCC is currently collecting biometrics. You will pay the biometric fees with your application and they will send you a biometric instruction letter. This letter confirms you will require biometrics. Please ensure you follow the steps on the letter and visit the VAC closest to you for the biometrics collection. Your application will not be processed if you do not submit your biometrics. So a medical exam could also be required depending on your country of citizenship and program of study. If you are going to study or work in the healthcare field or childcare, we recommend that you complete the medical prior to coming to Canada and then include this with your study permit application. Medicals can be done in advance if you know it's required. You just need to be sure that medical is done by the IRCC panel physician, and we'll put a link in the chat so that you are able to find the IRCC panel physician closest to you. You just need to search it by the country you are applying your study permit from, and you will get a list of the panel physicians. If you do not complete an upfront medical exam, IRCC may send you a medical request letter if the medical exam is required. Be sure to follow the instructions in the medical request letter and complete the requirements before the deadline indicated, which is usually 30 days. Just give me a minute, please. I will put that link in the chat. How to find IRCC panel physician. You click on this link, select your country, you will get a list of the panel physicians from your country. Next slide, please. So co-ops are work integrated learning that may be a part of your degree studies, and for some may be a mandatory component of your program. So co-op positions are approved after you generally complete your first year or first 2 semesters. This all depends on your specific program. Please note that as of April 1st, 2026, co-op work permits are no longer required. If a co-op or internship or any placement is a part of your program, you will be able to complete those co-ops on your study permit. You no longer need a separate co-op work permit to do your co-ops now. So let's talk a little bit about working in Canada. So as an international student, if you are registered with the institution full-time and you have the working conditions on your study permit, you will be able to work part-time while you study. This part-time work can help you offset some of the costs associated with rent or food. Please note this part-time work will not be able to fund your tuition fees reflected in your study permit application. So please plan accordingly to have those finances already in place. So you can work 24 hours off campus while you are registered as a full-time student, and full-time hours during your scheduled break, that is your summer break, winter break, reading weeks, or your break between the semesters. Graduate students, please note that you do not get a summer break as you have to maintain continuous enrollment throughout the year. So only time you can work full time is during your reading weeks or winter break or break between the semesters. Undergrad students, they get a summer break and they can work full time during those 4 months. And we have a career services center that can assist you after you arrive to review your resumes and help you with job searching and interview prep and much more. The other work in Canada is, of course, after you graduate. Many of our students choose to stay in Canada after graduation, and providing you have met the criteria, you will be eligible for a postgraduate work permit. For our undergrad students, as long as your program is at least 2 years in length, you will be eligible for the 3-year PGWP. For our graduate level students, that's master's and PhD, as long as your program is at least 8 months or more in length, you will be eligible to apply for a 3-year PGWP. One more quick note, please. International students applying for PGWP are now required to submit a valid language proficiency with their application. Rest assured that our department will guide you through all of these processes and applications once you're here. Okay, so the processing times. I've already seen a couple of questions regarding this in the Q&A section as well. So yeah, so how long will it take for your study permit application to be processed? So this can be tracked. So you can track your application through the IRCC account, and processing times will vary. The IRCC will send you notifications anytime they make a change, and you can check current processing times on the IRCC website. As you can see on the screen with the example of India being 4 weeks. This was updated on March 24th, and I think as of today it has gone further. It has gone down to 3 weeks now. If you check it today for India, it's 3 weeks. So be sure to apply early to avoid any delays in starting your studies, as many other countries are taking longer, maybe like 9 to 10 weeks or even 12 weeks. I will put this link in the chat as well, how to check your processing times. There you go. All right, next slide, please, Hardika. Okay, so what to do once you get a decision? So once if your application is approved, you will be asked to send your passport for stamping, as I mentioned earlier. So an approval message will be sent in the GC key. Please simply read and follow the instructions on the letter and send your passport for stamping. And what if your application is refused, unfortunately? So you need to review the reasons for refusal, decide if you want to ask for reconsideration. This can be done via SAC web form, or if you need to reapply. You will also now receive more detailed notes on your refusal. These are called officer decision notes. One other important note is that if you receive a refusal, you may need another PAL depending on the program. If you're an undergrad program and you receive a study permit refusal, you will not be able to use the same PAL to apply for a study permit again. So please don't hesitate to reach out to us for clarification. You need to send an email to pal.intl if you will need another PAL, pal.intl@lakeheadu.ca. Okay, so we wanted to also touch base on the dependents of the principal applicants. Some of our students may wish to bring their spouses or children with them to Canada. When referring to spousal open work permits, as per IRCC policy, only students in a master's or PhD program will be able to apply for their spouses to have an open work permit. Of course, this is providing you meet all the necessary criteria. If you are in an undergrad program, the spousal open work permit option is no longer available to you. However, there are some very limited program options which where it might be. This information can be found on the IRCC website. You can apply to have your children come to Canada with you either as a visitor or if they are of school age as a student. If they are of school age, we recommend that you apply for a study permit for them rather than a visitor visa. You can include your family members in your original application to come to Canada, or you can invite them to accompany you after your arrival, or once you are here, we can help you with those applications as well. So I think that is it from me. I will pass it on back to Hardika now for postgrad plans.
All right, thank you so much, Katie and Sukhjeet, for sharing all that insights and information. So now I'd like to launch another poll, and we would like to hear from our audience yet again. I just wanted to understand, like, what are your extended plans after graduation? So let's just go and hear it from our audience today. I'm just launching it right now, and it is launched. So I request all the audience members to just answer this poll just so that we can get an idea of what your plans are after graduation. All right. It is a mixed answer right now. Currently, it is in between work and live in Canada and also further studies. All right, I'll just give it more 5 seconds and then I will be ending the poll. All right, I'm ending the poll right now. Here you go. Sukhjeet and Katie, are you able to see the results? Perfect. Most of them, like
Excellent.
34% has mentioned that they plan to work and live in Canada, which is really great. So I hope this information has helped each and every one.
It's excellent. Thank you so much for sharing this, Hardika. So yeah, once you're a graduate, if you want to apply for PGWP or if you want to study further, apply for your study permit extension, we can help you with those applications.
Right, so with that, let's just move on to our question and answer round of this presentation. And before we begin, I would like to give a huge shout out to Paula and Jordan, who were answering all of your questions behind the scenes. So thank you again. And with that, if you have any visa related or study permit related questions, please put it in a Q&A box below and our team will be able to answer them live for you. Oh, okay, sorry.
Oh, thank you, Paula and Jordan. You've answered almost 50 questions there.
Yeah, it is quite a lot today. So we'll just wait a few more minutes before we'll just give our audience time to write their answers. Write their questions.
So no questions. Please, if you have any question, now is the time. You can post your questions in the Q&A section.
Oh, you're getting our questions now, Sukhjeet.
So do our team assist students in applying for? Unfortunately, we do not help with outside of country applications, but if you receive a visa refusal or if you have any specific concerns or any general questions about your study permit application, you can send us an email to immigration.intl@lakeheadu.ca and we will try to help you as best as we can. So the minimum amount of funds for a single applicant is $22,895. I was just answering one question and it just vanished. Not sure. I'm not sure if someone else answered that.
I was typing an answer, but then you were
Oh, sure,
speaking it
sure, sure.
anyways. Yeah,
Go
proof
ahead.
of
Yeah.
funds. So please refer to the link that we shared further up in the chat while I was speaking earlier. So the government of Canada could change it each year, but this year we did mention the current rate. So that's for a single person to cover your living expenses in addition to your tuition. And so make sure you're aware of that. And in terms of the proof of funds documents, we covered those in detail through earlier slides, and know that this webinar is being recorded and we will be posting it in our archive online. So that will be a great reference for you.
Thank you, Katie. So yes, Miriam, the graduate students are no longer, they don't no longer need a PAL to apply for their study permits. They are exempt now. So all masters and PhD students don't need a PAL to apply for your study permits.
We do have quite a few
So
questions.
do you have to show year two proof of funds? You need to make sure that you have funds to cover the expenses of your first year tuition and your living expenses. That's your tuition plus $22,895. For the if you are in a multiple year program, you just need to have a plan that if your parents are working, if they have a stable income, how you are planning to pay for your rest of your program. You don't need to show funds for the rest of the years, but you do need to show a plan that how you are going to pay for your upcoming years. I hope that answers your question. Uh, I
There's a
joined
question
later.
if your visa is delayed. Great question. Sometimes this does happen. So you'll note that your letter of acceptance will note how long your acceptance is valid for. So usually it's valid for both the fall and winter term starts. So you would just you could start in the winter term in January. But I will, although I'm saying that, I also highly recommend that you keep in touch with us when you are concerned about your visa being delayed and it affecting your arrival to Canada. We can further guide you in terms of more specifics to your situation. So there might be particulars around like your program. So just please stay in touch with us if you're concerned about visa delays.
So there is another question. What is the recommended buffer apart from the tuition fee and living cost recommended by RCC? So $22,895, that's the minimum amount. They want you to prove that you have this much fund, access to this much funds, but it's always recommended to show more funds than that because you also need to show it to IRCC that you will be able to return home after you complete your studies. So, but there is no set limit for the buffer, but it's always recommended to show extra funds that add your tuition and $22,895 and show extra funds from that, like maybe four or five thousand dollars extra. So there is no set limit for that, but it's always recommended to show extra funds. There's another question, does my education loan count to the proof of funds? Yes, if you have a loan from any bank or any other financial institution, you can include this as a proof of financial fund, like as proof of funds in with your study permit application. If you're using multiple sources to prove that you have enough funds, please make sure you include a cover letter that highlight all the sources you are using for your finances and include all the relevant documents. You need to merge all the files into a single document and upload it because you will only get one tab to upload your documents for the financial proof. So for a 4-year child, you can apply for a visitor visa for them. So once they are here and they start going to school, then you can apply for a study permit for them from within Canada.
There's a question here about accommodations. So just know that we cover this in greater detail in a separate webinar. But you can be looking into accommodations on campus. Options are available for all 3 locations, as well as we do have an off-campus housing website. But do know that once you accept your offer, you'll be receiving additional invitations for you to attend more webinars on detailed topics like this, and we'll do a deeper dive on all things related to housing.
So there's another question. For single year program, must you pay for the 3 terms full tuition? Can you pay partly if you have completed the GIC? So GIC is no longer a required thing. If you want to go for the GIC, you can to prove that you have enough funds for your expenses, but your tuition plus GIC, if you are paying your first year tuition, that will make your application stronger. So it's always recommended to pay your tuition up front and include your tuition fee receipts with your application, and you can use GIC. The $22,895, that's for your living expenses. It does not cover your tuition. So tuition is in addition to that. So this follow-up question from Miriam. So yeah, PhD and master students both are exempt from submitting a PAL. So you just need to include a letter that you're exempt from PAL with your application. You don't need an actual PAL to apply for your study permit.
So thank you so much, everyone, and a big thank you to our invitation advisors for your guidance today. Remember, our International Student Services team is here to support you through the entire process from admission to arrival and beyond. So thanks again, everyone, and wish you all the best with your applications, and we hope to see you at Lakehead soon.
Thanks for watching. If you have any questions, feel free to drop them in the comment section below. You can connect with us on social media. You can find us at Lakehead International on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. We hope to see you in our next live webinar. Bye for now.